Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you how to make this Gravedigger Monster Jam Cake. Now just like always, if you guys need any tools or supplies, if you check the links in the description below, they should be able to help you out. Just start by making the tire cake. I had a cake, it's what is this, an 8-inch round, two of the cakes layered on top of each other. And I took some black fondant, not gum paste, it's fondant, rolled it out nice and long. As you saw, I had my little wooden dowels to make sure I didn't, roll it crooked or anything. And now I'm just wrapping it around my cake. I did have the cake in the fridge, so it's nice and firm. And I had measured off fondant so that it would overlap the top of the cake a little bit. You see it folds over maybe an inch or 2 inches on the top. I'm going to have it that way on purpose. I wanted it to cover the top a little bit. Now I'm taking that same fondant as before, and I'm using my little rolling cutting tool there to cut maybe, what are they, about 1 inch, 1.5 inch stripes. And I'm going to put them on the cake. I'm curving them to the side, you see that? Trimming it off, and when I get near the top, in order to make the tread of my tire. I spaced them apart evenly. I was using my knife blade to measure it out. And I'm using my little rolling pin to just kind of smooth everything, make it nice and shiny and flat looking. See, not too bad, right? And I gotta say, I like how this came out. The only thing I would have done different is I probably would have put the tread a little closer, so, use your judgment. Now, as you see, I'm adding my fake dirt on top of the cake. It was just some chocolate icing and some crushed up fake Oreo cookies on top that I ate all of the extras of, and they were good, even though they were fake. And I stuck it in the fridge. This sucker just keeps going in and out of the fridge. Now, this is gum paste, not fondant, gum paste. I used orange and yellow and just marbled it kind of together. I just put it on top of each other and rolled it out and folded it, rolled it out till I liked how it looked. And it's pretty thin, I gotta say. And I'm making fire for the, for the effects of the Monster Jam cake. I am just wiggling my blade around. That's all I'm doing. Wiggle and loop and wiggle and loop. Come up to some kind of a point or, a center peak somewhere. Yeah, that's all I did. Just wiggle it around. I didn't follow a template. If you feel you need to, there are a lot out there. Just, Google image search it. You'll find what you need. There you go. I got 2 smaller ones, and then I made 1 larger one that will be for the top part of the cake later on. And I'm trimming off the bottom because, you don't really want a stalk coming off of your fire. Fire just kind of is. All right, now for another little additional decoration, I'm making the child's name. I made it in the same kind of a lime green as the monster truck cake. I'm going to do the Gravedigger. You'll see that soon. And I didn't use a template or anything. I just freehanded it. I just, made letters, yeah, and a number. There you go. And to make it a little more interesting looking, I put it on top of some gray gum paste, rolled out nice and thin. This is all very thin, actually. It didn't have to be thick or stand up. I was going to have it laying on the side, so I keep it thinner in that case. And I just stuck the letters on, trimmed around it kind of, a little wider, giving them a little bit of a border around the letters. And now that I'm looking at it, I feel like it's so Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking, like the style and everything. I just realized that, so I'm also dating myself again, as I do sometimes. I'm putting these little gray circles on to make it a little more mechanical looking, I guess you could say. So I'm pretending that they're going to be screws. So I stuck on the circles, and I'm using this flat blade I have to make X's on them. And there you go, screws, right? Now, when I stick letters on a cake like this, I start with the center letter, or letters in this case, put it in the center where the front-facing part of my cake is, and then I build out from each side. So I feel like this way, my name or whatever it is going to be is nice and centered perfectly, with the focal point of my cake, the best looking side of it and everything. So that's why I do it that way. It's just what I do. I'm sure probably everybody else does it that way, and I feel so original that I created that. So anyway, now I am adding a little bit more icing to the sides, just here and there, make it, a little more uneven, a little more rough and dirty, I guess. Adding a little more icing, adding a little more of my crumbs on top, just brush off the extra. And, of course, the crumbs are going to be all over the place no matter what you do. All right, back in the fridge for that cake. Now, I had also baked 1 little square cake. This, I want to say, was a 6-inch. And I'm going to try to make this into the truck. Now, sculpting the cake itself to make a small decoration on top is not necessarily my forte. I would much rather have tried to make something out of gum paste for this, because if any of you guys are familiar with monster trucks, they're not solid. They are super duper hollow, and they are just basically a shell with a bunch of scaffolding holding it up. And I had to try to make it into a solid thing. So this is the best I could do. It was hard for me. I will admit this, but this is what I did. So, maybe you can use this as a jumping off point to make yours even better, see? So I carved the cake, iced it as you saw, stuck it in the fridge because the sucker was just soft and moist and delicious, and it couldn't be. It had to be firm. Now I had it in the fridge for a while. I have whatever black fondant, this is fondant again, we had left. Rolled it out when it was finally firm, covered it up as you can see, trying to make it nice and even, doing the best I can here. And then I'm trimming off the extra. I just kept on trimming and trimming and trimming. And there you go, using my little fondant paddles to smooth it down as best I could. This was tough. Like I said, this was tough, but I tried. I really did try. Okay, so now we got kind of the base going. I'm going to cover the front of the hood, I guess you'd say, with the lime green that we use for the letters. I'm going to just wiggle it around like we did for the fire to make green flames, because Gravedigger is all about the, neon green and purple. So I just made a bunch of flame shapes and wrapped it around the front and up over the hood, and just kind of bent it on the sides, like the flames on the sides, so it would go toward the back of the car. And yeah, it really didn't come out bad for that part. I feel like that was pretty good, right? Not too shabby. It's not perfect, but it's not too bad. Okay, now I'm using some more black gum paste to make the tires. I just picked out a big circle that I held up next to the car there and felt like it looked good. So that's how I measured it out. I made 3. I'm only going to use 2, but you'll see soon why. I hollowed out the center because monster truck tires are pretty darn hollow too. I filled it with the green. I'm using some flat black just to kind of put the center in there, just like that. And yeah, so press it down. That's what I did with the rolling pin there, and called it a tire. I'm using my knife blade, the back of my knife blade, to make indents on the sides at an angle there, all around it to give it some treads, because heck yeah, these monster trucks have huge treads. It's actually pretty cool. And I did it for both tires, and if you're going to have it, so that there's 4 tires, then make 4. But mine, the idea is I'm going to have it kind of tilted, like it's going over one of those ramps. Like I've had to watch a Monster Jam show with my kids on YouTube or something, and it was cool, I got to say. But they, go over the ramps sideways, or not sideways, but like at an angle. So that's the effect I was going for here. So I'm using some more of that green now. You see my tires are just kind of setting. They need to harden up. Oh, and the fire I made, I forgot to mention, I did it the day before, so it had like overnight to set. I am just kind of filling in the sides there with some lime green. I added a cake plate to my little cake because it was just a monster to try to move around, and I always forget to add cake plates. So I added a cake plate, and now I'm covering it up because you could see it underneath because the black didn't go down low enough. With my green, I'm adding some more fire to the back. And now I've got fire on the front and fire on the back. And once again, these cars are supposed to be, trucks, excuse me, are supposed to be hollow, or are mostly hollow. So I am trying to add the idea that there's windows in here. So I'm just using some really thinly rolled out black to make a little shape of a window on either side. I'll make a little, windshield on the front, just to try to give it more of that feel. There you go. And what I am going to do, and I don't show you, is I'm going to, take some of that green and just outline the windows, make them stand out a little more, because I did see that Gravedigger's windows are kind of outlined in that green. Okay, as far as the decorations on the sides, this is where it gets really complicated. There is a heck of a lot going on the side of the Gravedigger. Okay, there's a lot. I tried to capture the main elements. So I got the green going up the side. I've got that white circle with little purple lines going kind of around it. I've got the one purple there that's coiled. It was just a long, thin piece that I just, as you saw, just kind of coiled on up. And I'm going to add that shape right there that's kind of like the ghost head or the skull head coming out of the ground, sort of. So I'm putting that on there. It's just kind of, I don't know, gumdrop-ish shaped, melting gumdrop shape. And then there's like kind of a blob of white next to it that has the word Gravedigger on it. So the spacing had to be good. It was just kind of a little tricky overall. And you can also see I used a piece of, it was extra fondant or gum paste, and had stuck it underneath the truck just to kind of wedge it up at an angle, as you see there. And now I had added some extra icing to that piece that's holding the truck up, covered it with crumbs in the on underneath and on the sides, so now you can't see it at all anymore. I also changed the purple skull head thing to white because I realized I'm going to have to color on top of it. And speaking of coloring, as you can see, I'm just like filling stuff in. I'm drawing the little house with the tree next to it, the dead tree next to it in the circle with the brown edible marker. I used a green marker to just kind of mark up the green on the side because there's all kinds of like writing and little tiny pictures like gravestones and stuff. I'm making the skull face on the piece of white that used to be purple there. I am now outlining it in purple and adding some lines to it and everything because it's kind of like, if you look at pictures of it, it's kind of shaded between like a dark purple and then it kind of fades up into white. So I'm trying for that here. I don't think I do too bad, but you know, it's you're not going to be like, holy cow, I just saw the real gravedigger on top of some kid's cake, but you are going to be like, oh, that's obviously the gravedigger cake. You know, so it's okay. Like I said, it's a starting off point. You could do better maybe. So good luck. This is tough for me. I'm adding some more black to the rest of it just to rough it up a little bit, as you saw. And I'm adding some red onto the green flames on the car's front. They're supposed to be yellow because I don't know. If you look at pictures, you'll see it's got kind of yellow highlights around the flames. And I tried using my yellow marker and it didn't show at all. So I went with red. I cheated. And the white sign there, I wrote gold digger. Geez, grave digger in purple and shaded the top and bottom. I'm kind of going over it in red because it kind of has a red tint to it as well. Adding a little bit of red highlights to it. And yeah, now I'm sticking on my tires. I made the 2 tires, stuck them on with a little bit of water because they're nice and firm now. I'm adding a little more icing to the outside, as you see there. Adding some more of my crumbs, as you can see. And let me just tell you, there were so many crumbs. Oh my gosh, it just got everywhere, all over the counter and all over the cake. Adding a little more red to the back, as you saw. And here come my flames. Remember our flames that we did? There's the big one. I'm just add a little water to it, stick it to the side of my little cake there, and then it was flopping over, so I used a lollipop stick in the back to brace it up. Anything extra, just snip, trim it off, then you won't even see it anymore. See that? Now it stands all by itself. Now I'm going to add a little piece of fondant to the back pieces of my other 2 flames that I made, the smaller ones. Stick it on either side of the name to just kind of outline it and make it look super cool. It looks nice and fiery and explosive now. And yeah, so that's it. I just had to add my number 4 that I made, and I was like, wow, my cake is really kind of crowded. So I stuck it in the mud. There you go. And yeah, there you go, right? It's kind of cool. It's fun. It's not too shabby. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe because I find that helpful. Check out my many other videos. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching Caketastic Cakes.